Taking a peek at the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Buick Enclave. This is the 2025 Plus models, which gives us this nice wraparound screen that kind of connects the cluster screen with the infotainment. If you want to walk through on the infotainment, you'll find it down below. But let's dive in. I'll show you everything you need to know. First thing is that the steering wheel inside the ride is going to be manual telescoping in the lower trims, with the Avenir being power telescoping. So the Avenir would have the adjusting button along the left-hand side, versus in the other options manual, just down the center column. In order to go in, out, up and down to find that perfect position. Once you do, click it in order to lock it back into place. The steering wheel, since this is the ST, is also flat bottom, but inside of the preferred, so the entry-level trim, along with the Avenir, you're looking at a regular rounded wheel, but steering wheel is comfortable overall. So many different buttons in stock. So let's start off with the one on the left-hand side. This is going to be for your blinkers, flashing out your high beams, and then there's a button on the tip of the left stick. If you tap that lightly, that's going to give you just a single windshield wipe, but if you push and hold, that's going to be your front wiper fluid. And then you can use the rockers in the middle in order to adjust out your wiper speed. So the one on the left is for the wiper in the front. The one on the right is your rear wiper. So if you push up or down, that's going to give you your rear wiper fluid too. Simple. Now with your lights, you've got your high beams. I'm in the auto light mode right now, so that means that I can only flash my high beams out. But if you look at controls, you've got options so you can turn on the dome lighting, camera traction control, etc. There's the option for park assist too, where the vehicle can help out with parallel perpendicular parking. If you want to walk through and how that's done, check down in the description. But we're looking for lights. So along the bottom of the screen, you can tap here to get to some light options. But inside of controls, you've got a bunch of other options. So you've got auto high beam, because I'm in the auto headlamp mode, and I'd recommend going that route. Because if the vehicle recognizes high beams are needed, turns them on automatically. If somebody's oncoming, it turns them off before turning them right back on again. But if you wanted to permanently lock your high beams out, you just have to be in the headlamp mode. So the bottom mode there, you could then push away to turn your high beams on, pull towards you, or push away again in order to turn them off. It's just that when you're in this auto mode with auto high beams enabled, the high beam is going to be done automatically. But you could flash it out regardless if you'd like to. So that's pretty straightforward. Stick along the right-hand side is your shifter. So just hit the brake, pull in towards you to go into neutral. You're going to flip up for reverse, down for drive, and then release. And then there's a button on the tip of the right stick in order to put yourself into park. The car has paddle shifters. So you've got your minus on the left-hand side, plus on the right. So if you wanted to drop gears in order to shoot up your RPMs, in order to pass somebody easier, you can do that. If you wanted to also rely on engine braking, you could do that too. In order to actually use the paddle shifters here, you just have to be in drive and hit the L button on the bottom left side of the steering wheel. That'll put you into the low gear, and then you'd be able to flip out to whatever gear you'd like to from there. But if you actually want to see paddle shifters in person, along with a deeper explanation of how and why you want to use them, check down in the description of this video. Then there are buttons behind the steering wheel. So there are ones along the left-hand side, and that's going to let you change between all of your available preset stations. You can set up presets inside of the infotainment system, and then along the right side is going to be your volume adjusting. So you can adjust volume this way. Just on the center, there's also the option for adjusting your volume this way. You can take that same rotary dial and push it in to mute your audio. Button push again in order to bring it back. And if you do a push and hold, that's going to turn the screen into more of a calming view for the infotainment. And then so many different buttons. So we'll start off with the ones along the, let's go left-hand side. So these are going to be for cruise control. So you've got 3 different types of cruise. At a minimum, you're at least going to have traditional and then adaptive cruise. And then there's also the option for super cruise, which is full hands-free driving. In order to use cruise control, you toggle it on this way. Once you get up to speed or whatever speed you like, you push down to set and then increase or decrease 1 kilometer, 1 mile per hour at a time by pushing up or down. If you push and hold up or push and hold down, that'll bring you to the nearest 5 or 0. So let's say if you have it set at 37, push and hold up, it'll bring you to 40, 45, 50, etc. Push and hold down, it'll do the opposite. Then you've got this one, which is a gap adjustment. So when you're using the adaptive cruise control system, it's how close or far do you want to be away from that vehicle that's in front of you. I would recommend level 1 on just residential streets, stop and go traffic. You might want to be on level 3, but it just depends on your own personal comfort level. And then, like I said, there's technically 3 different types of cruise. So this is the adaptive cruise. So let's say if you set it at 80, car in front of you slows down, yours is automatically going to brake. They change lanes, you change lanes, it'll pick you back up to your set speed. Then there's your old school traditional cruise. In order to set that up, you have your cancel button. So with cruise control enabled, you can hit the brake to pause, you can hit the cancel button to pause, push up to resume. But to move to traditional cruise, you take that cancel button, and if you push and hold it for a few seconds, that is going to put you into a regular cruise control. You take that same button, push and hold again to move back to adaptive. But your old school cruise or regular cruise is exactly that. You set it at 80. Let's say the car in front of you slows down, yours will not brake. So you just have to be paying more attention. And then there's the option for the Super Cruise feature, and that's full hands-free driving. But if you want a live demonstration of actually using the Super Cruise and the cruise control features, check down in the description of this video for a live demo. From there, you've got your low gear as well. You have to be in drive in order to get there. And then there's a voice command prompt where you can do things like change songs, radio stations, navigate using your voice. You can adjust climate with your voice and so many other things. On top of that, if you have your phone connected, so Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, etc., you do a long push and hold. That is going, if you don't have a phone connected, let you connect a phone. But if you've got a phone connected, it would either launch your Siri or your Google Assistant. The buttons along the right-hand side, tons of options here too. So you've got a button for the heated steering wheel, so toggle that on or off. You can move this up and down in order to go between all of your available radio stations. From there, you can hit the OK button along the right-hand side in the middle in order to select whatever station. You can answer or hang up on a phone call. You could do this in order to button press to change your audio sources too. So you'd be able to move into any of your available sources, but again, just using your voice to change stations. 94.9 FM.
Okay, streaming 94.9 FM.
I think it's a way easier way to do it. Obviously, unless you've got your presets set up. From there, there's a button here, and that's going to let you change between 3 individual views. So you've got your basic view, a map view, and then more of like a calming view for driver assistance, back to that basic view. Inside of the cluster, you've got your trip counter along the left-hand side. Through your vehicle status, you've got your maintenance information, so tire pressure, brake life, things like that. Different gauges that were available, so coolant, oil pressure, etc. You can also push this info into the cluster screen. So if you tap, let's say, coolant, you can then add it to the display. So if you'd want your coolant info there, you could do that. If you wanted your trip counters there, whether that's overall fuel economy, your current trip, current information, you could add that into the driver display. And you've also got the option of resetting your trip counter. So reset 1 versus 2. So I do like that you've got the flexibility of customizing that part out if you'd like to. From there, whether or not you've got your cruise control systems enabled, disabled, yay or nay. You've got your current fuel gauge done 2 different ways, so your current mileage until empty, along with the gear that you're currently in, so park reverse, neutral drive, etc. If you've got forward reverse park sensing systems, those would show up, letting you know if you're close to obstacles either way. The number of people that have their seatbelts on, so if it recognizes weight on the seat, whether or not those people are plugged in. And then you've also got your drive mode. This is going to be for your parking brake. So to toggle your parking brake on, you're just going to push the little P button. In order to toggle the parking brake off, just foot on the brake, tap it again in order to turn it off. There's a mode selector, so you'd be able to figure out which drive mode that you're in with 4 unique options. You're going to be in that tour mode the majority of the time, sport mode if you want better performance overall, and there's some other different modes that are available. You can move yourself into either, if you've got all-wheel drive, so either front-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive setup. Benefit is that your front-wheel drive, you'll get way better fuel economy. There's an auto hold setting, so with this one enabled, what's going to happen is if you come down to a complete stop, you take your foot off the brake, the car is not going to move. And then there's the auto start stop system. With this one enabled, what's going to happen is you come down to a stop, the engine might turn off. You could deactivate that if you'd like to, but every time you turn the car off and then back on again, you have to re-enable or disable, or I should say disable it if you'd like, because it's automatically going to come back on for each ignition cycle. And then you've also got a dimmer switch in order to be able to adjust the brightness of the cluster screen. Along the left-hand side of the cluster, you can also adjust the head-up display. So if yours has the head-up display, you can toggle it off if you'd like to, but then you can also adjust out individual elements. So you could adjust the brightness. I always recommend keep yourself on maximum brightness. Swiping across to another screen, you can adjust the height, so do you want it moving up or down? And then you can also adjust the rotation, just depending on how you typically sit inside of your seat. Then you've also got this button down here, and that's going to be the one to be able to adjust out into different views. So you've got your full map and cluster view, your driving assistance view, back to your basic view that way. So if we have an active route going, so let's just randomly select something here and start. So you can see there, you've at least got
Head
turn-by-turn
west toward Henry
directions
Street, down
available
Regional
there.
Road 45.
And then as we move down into different views, so we go into our full map and cluster view, that just looks
You're on
nice.
the fastest route despite slower than usual traffic.
And then
You
you've
should
also
reach your
got
destination by 12.
you've also got different views there. So I'm personally a bigger fan of moving into this view as a default, but that's going to be a matter of preference. And then one thing to point out, the maps that we're seeing there, strictly going to be for factory navigation. So Google Maps built into the infotainment system. So if you have your phone connected, looking at Waze, Apple Maps, things like that, that wouldn't show up inside of the cluster. So strictly going to be Google Maps. I'm personally also not a big fan of the speed limit assist, but if you wanted to, you could have it set up so that you couldn't go faster than the posted road speed. So you could manually set it based off of setting it up there. You can have it automatically done just based off of your road speed. So you could adjust it. I personally keep that one off. You can adjust it a series of options for your settings. So let's see here. Vehicle settings, you've got Super Cruise. So Super Cruise lane change. If you have the Super Cruise feature inside of your ride with it turned on, with the automatic lane change, what's going to happen there is if the vehicle recognizes the person in your lane is going too slow, it's going to hit the turn stop for you and it'll automatically change lanes. So no input is required whatsoever. You can have it so that it's turn signal activated. So if you wanted to hit the turn stalk yourself to go left or right, it would then check to see if there's anybody in the lane next to you and then move over for you automatically. Or you can have it so that there's no lane change done whatsoever. And from here, you've got options for your display, for the instrument cluster. Do you want your turn-by-turn notifications showing up, yay or nay? So that is when you've got a route going. And then traffic sign recognition. Do you want that showing up inside of the cluster? Yes or no? And then the other useful one here is going to be your system units. So you can change out between either US or metric. So if you're going cross-border, this is one of the benefits of the digital cluster is that it adjusts everything for you. I know that is a lot of information, but that's everything that you need to know about the steering wheel as well as the cluster screen inside of the Buick Enclave.